Hi again, guys. Welcome back for the next 8-ish minutes. We'll see how well we stick to time. We're going to be getting into a very new sector of journalism, crime podcasting. I'm so excited about this. This is definitely...
This is your thing.
This is my favorite thing ever. Awesome. Yes, it's going to be good.
So as a genre, I feel like it's taken over journalism in the last year, for sure. So we're going to be talking about a recent example of crimes that have been podcasted on, what impacts crime podcasting is having on journalism and on crime reporting. Any potential downsides, how do you do a good crime podcast and what do you don't do?
Yeah. Well, excuse me if I get very excited. I'm one of those people who has to watch a crime documentary or listen to a crime podcast or YouTube video at least once a day. It's just... I love it so much.
If Pagan hasn't told you to watch The Staircase, you haven't had a conversation with her for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah. The Staircase is great. So I just want to start by giving a bit of an example. So I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but Crime Stoppers Western Australia has recently published a fair amount of cold cases. So that so far they've posted about 28 cold cases, which I just think is unbelievable. You think about, you don't hear about them for literally decades, and then boom, Crime Stoppers Western Australia has decided to post about 28 of them, which is pretty incredible. For example, they're posting about an 11-year-old boy. So they post about this crime seeking information. So it's an 11-year-old boy. He was on his way to a comic book store on a Monday morning, and he was abducted and he was found murdered. So if you're not familiar with the case, pop on to Crime Stoppers WA and look him up in the cold cases section.
So when did it happen?
So it's the anniversary for it was really recent. So it happened on the 14th of October 1997. So that's the year I was born.
Same here.
Yeah. So
that's so crazy.
I don't know, that kind of strikes a nerve with me. His name is Gerard James Ross. So check him out, go look at this photo. If you knew anyone living in the area, definitely, start talking about it. But yeah, I just find it so amazing how this case has, not, you wouldn't have heard about it. And suddenly, using this online space, they've been able to bring it back into the community. In 1997, I didn't have my family didn't have a computer.
No.
I don't think we got one till 2004.
Imagine how easy it is to get fake IDs in 1997.
Yeah. Right. So it was back then. It's much harder to push for these sorts of things. But police believe that there are people in WA and in the community who know what happened. That's a really sad bit. They believe they know someone's holding information and is remaining silent. And, this might just be the push to help get this solved, this online space that we didn't have back in 1997 is potentially going to make a really big change for these cases.
Yeah. Especially for families. That's such a long time to not know, right?
Yeah. That's pretty bad, How do you get closure? 1990s, that's our entire lives. It's very sad. Very, very sad.
For sure.
And it's definitely impacted other cases.
Oh, for sure. So there was a terrible Daily Mail article called Nation of Naggers. So I found an ABC one. British about the same thing. So they were saying how crime podcasting has dramatically increased the amount of public tip-offs to Crime Stoppers, and it's at an all-time high. So they're saying that it's because of the popularity of true crime podcasts. So they're saying, I think in Australia, they have led to 24,630 charges this year from tip-offs from people listening to crime podcasts. That's crazy,
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah.
There are more me's in the world
Yeah.
who listen to this stuff.
So the one that the article was talking about was Hedley Thomas's The Teacher's Pet. Have you listened to that one?
I actually haven't listened to that one, but I definitely, like, you know, you hear about these all the time.
Yeah, for sure. So there's like so many these days.
There's so
I feel like
many.
Everybody has a crime podcast.
There are some really good ones. Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're like Susan and they put you to sleep. That's what she said.
Oh, Susan.
I know. Anyway, so they've recorded a 91% jump in the number of charges from tip-offs in 7 years. Like that's so impressive from crime podcasting.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it could change the world, guys.
Yeah.
It could change the
So
world.
obviously, like, this is increased public awareness about crimes and public safety, which is really great. And I love how it sort of like evolves journalists' role to like keep the fourth estate and public interest protected.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
a very niche part of that, but like
Yeah.
I like how it sort of carries on. And also when you think about cases, so like the one that you were talking about from 1997, so you think about cases like the Baden Clay case, which happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like most people our age in Brisbane know about it because it was so close and so recent. So then you think about cases like the 1997 case or Leanne Holland's case, which in the lecture not many people had even heard of it. Like I hadn't heard of it. But it was a girl who went missing outside of Logan. So because this podcast is being made now and it's so trendy, which I hate that word, but people are like listening to it and hearing her story and engaging with it, which is, I don't know, I think it generates a lot of discussion about the issues behind them and like injustices.
Yeah.
So like things like abduction and sexism based crime and stuff is always going to be relevant. So I think it's really cool that we can revisit these issues and sort of keep that in the forefront of our discussions and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We're more connected than ever, as they say, you know.
Hashtag online journalism.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Like I personally, like, for example, like I watch one particular YouTuber who I just find absolutely incredible. Shout out to her. So Danielle Hallen, she's got a YouTube channel, and I think she's a really good example of people who bring not heavily publicized cases into the limelight a little bit. Like she has over 225,000 subscribers, and you think about the reach, like the amount of people watching her YouTube channel, like it's just absolutely incredible. Like there are people who, you know, you never would have seen these people's faces and they've gone missing, and you know she'll do a video about them, and you know so many more people have seen this face now. You know, it makes such a big impact. You know, she covers other cases, like she covers the Madeleine McCanns, you know, but the way she does things, I think is really important. She doesn't call herself a journalist, but she, in a way, reports on these cases. She gives the background facts. She will play audio excerpts from like a 911 call, or like she'll present evidence and talk about some theories and talk about basically the facts. And she does that, and she shares the story, so you know people can think about, you know, where was I that night. She's given stories from her local town, and I think it's really cool because she's got this intent, like her intention is just to get the story out there, you know. And I really like her because she is just so genuine, and she works with families themselves. She talks to the parents of these kids who've been abducted and stuff, and she has this intention to actually get things solved rather than, you know,
just have some people watch her videos.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the issue as well with like crime podcasting. There are some bad ones out there.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some
people
bad.
who just like jump on the podcasting.
Yeah,
I've got a microphone. I can talk.
Please don't do that. Please don't.
Says us.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, she does her best to get the facts straight.
Yeah. And
she does it to try to get the word out there, not to get views and stuff like that.
So this isn't her job. This is just her side.
I guess it's a big part of her life, but she's also a mother. Yeah. Which I think is huge.
That's so impressive though that she's driven to do that, like even though she'd already been so busy.
Exactly. And I just, it's very, very impressive. But, you know, there are other people out there who, you know, clearly demonstrate some of the downfalls
sure.
of this sort of criminal
Yeah.
coverage that online.
Yeah. So, I don't know, for me, I always think about the families and friends of people who the crime stories are about. So, like, in the lecture, I remember that we were talking about how the victims and the families should always be at the forefront of why you're doing the podcast and how you're doing it, which absolutely makes sense because, like, the people in it are more important than getting your podcast listened to. But I guess I go, for them, it's always going to be an emotional experience, and, like, not everybody who are friends and family with the person would have the same, like, opinion about it. And I guess you can't control how people react to it as well. Like, if there's a negative public reaction or whatever it is, like, that would impact the family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. You
As
know,
well.
comments.
Yeah.
People, the
Yeah.
things people comment on some of these,
Yeah.
like, videos, and it's
Yeah.
awful.
So I think it's a really tricky area with, like, very high potential to hurt people, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially if you're reporting something wrong.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So bad, you know.
Like, and even if you're a trained journalist and you have to get, like, a podcast up every week, so you're just like, I think it's easy to lose sight of.
Yeah, instead you're jumping on getting your podcast posted instead of just, you know, keeping the accuracy, thinking about your ethics every single time.
Or, like,
you
if
post.
you get halfway through a podcast series and, like, the mother of someone goes, actually, this is too much for me to handle. Like, do you stop podcasting? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's
because
a
once
very
it's online,
blurry
it's
line.
there forever, right? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, once you say one wrong thing,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of that,
Yeah.
which is very
And,
scary.
like, through Facebook and stuff, you could pretty easily find the family and friends. You know what I mean? Like, if you
Exactly.
wanted to. Yeah.
Quick search on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also think about, this is a bit, I think, not as popular, but, like, I think about the
Yeah.
people who, like, the suspects and the people who are convicted for the crimes in podcasting and go, like, if they've been in jail for 20 plus years or they weren't convicted, like, and that, like, this crime would have been such a huge part of their life, and it's getting brought back up again into the public and the media's attention. And you go, like, what if, you know, because we can't get everything right, even if you are researching really thoroughly, what if they are innocent, or, you know, what if they've repented to the point where it's just, like, you know, traumatizing to their mental health. Like, I guess, where's the line between getting this, like, who are you hurting when you're telling this?
Yeah, and I
guess.
think whilst, I understand why that could be an unpopular thought, but it's true because, you know, we are flawed beings, and we will never get things right 100% of the time. So, we just can't. So, you know, what happens when we have convicted an innocent person? You know, what happens then when, you know, you Google search them and that's, all you can find is that maybe they're a convicted sexual predator or something like that, you know, like that.
Or even if they're not, but there's this whole podcast series like about how they could be.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And even if you're trying to be unbiased in that, it's still putting this idea out online to people, and how they interpret it isn't, you're not having a conversation with them where you can clarify it, right? Like, once they're listening to it, that's how they interpret it.
Yeah, and that's the one side you're hearing. And I don't know about you, but, like, if I was an employer and I've hired people before, and, you know, I've done the Google search to find people, and if I found something like that, it's embarrassing in a sense, but I don't think I could hire someone if I found a podcast series about someone who was a possible sexual predator or something like that.
Absolutely,
you
not.
know, it's
and I guess it's
awful.
tricky because journalism isn't forensic science or police. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're not experts.
No.
We're journalists, and, you know, we convey the truth, and that becomes another issue when everyone can make a podcast now, you know.
Yeah, and even if you're conveying the truth, like, as much as in your possibilities with the research and the interviews that you've done, that isn't necessarily the legal truth, like, but
exactly, you know,
they're different.
We have privacy for a reason. You know, there are always things that aren't I guess made known to journalists, and you know, we don't always get the whole picture, and it does make it very difficult.
And I also just think, to end on, I always think about mental health with journalists. So, like, I guess if you're working for Channel 7 or SBS and you're doing reporting on, like, a traffic scene or, like, a floods, whatever it is, they're going to be aware of, like, are you having trauma from this? Because that, you know, it's a really real thing, is mental health and the effect that has on you. But if you are out there on your own back, like many podcasters are, as we found out, and there's no one there to check in. Like, if you're doing all these interviews about families and friends losing people, like, that would have a huge mental toll on you. So I guess there's no one there to be like, whoa, like, do you need a break?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
It's like, I'm going to bring it to the staircase. I have to bring it up. It's like when you watch a documentary like that has quite graphic images and you hear quite graphic stories about, you know, someone who's deceased. It's like even watching those sorts of things can become quite traumatic. Like, imagine being that journalist.
I know.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should really think about us journalists and our mental health. That'd be great.
We should. So to conclude, look after yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening again, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking about it, because great topic. Thanks, guys.
For listening.